Now let's get started by learning a little bit about SAP production planning, whether you're navigating the systems of SAP S/4HANA, public cloud, private cloud, ECC, or the older R3 system. Understanding the basics of your module is key. So buckle up and let's dive right into it, shall we? Firstly, what is production planning? SAP PP, which stands for production planning, is a crucial module within the SAP ERP system. Production planning is the process of aligning demand with manufacturing capacity to create production and procurement schedules for finished products and component materials. SAP PP plays a vital role in streamlining production operations, ensuring efficiency, and maintaining a synchronized workflow. In the production cycle, SAP PP is incredibly important because it monitors and logs the entire manufacturing process, covering both planned and actual costs. It also keeps a close eye on the movement of goods, tracking the transformation of raw materials into semi-finished products. What's noteworthy is that SAP PP seamlessly works alongside other SAP modules like SD, MM, QM, FICO, and PM or plant maintenance. This integration ensures a smooth flow of information and processes across different aspects of the business. Now let's dive into the organizational setup within SAP PP. It's really important to have the details about where your manufacturing plants are and the storage locations within those plants right in the system. Why is this such a big deal? It's because all production master data is created at the plant level, making it the central hub for defining how products are manufactured, but other locations and resources within the plant might be involved in the actual production activities. And when it comes to planning activities, guess where it all goes down? Yep, at the plant level. That's where the strategies are cooked up. Now here's the interesting part: the production confirmation process and all the related goods movements. Yeah, they happen at the plant and storage location level. It's where the action unfolds. So, having a clear picture of your plants and storage locations is like having a rock-solid foundation for a live and kicking production planning module. Still following? Awesome. Let's keep the conversation going. All right, let's talk about this concept of master data in SAP PP. So, master data in a nutshell is like the backbone of your entire operation. It's the kind of data that isn't really managed with frequent changes. Now, why is it so important? Master data is the data that sets the stage for your process within the system. It's the fundamental data that doesn't change much, except when the requirement arises and the business personnel decree it's time for an update. In the next video, we'll take a closer look at master data and transactional data in SAP PP. I'll break down the details, explaining how they function and why they're important. Now, moving on to the master data essentials in SAP PP, there are 5 key elements that play a pivotal role in the production planning module. Let's break down each of them. First up, we have the material master. This is the universal master data used in all modules, including SAP PP. This is like your go-to encyclopedia for all materials in the company, like what we buy, what we make, what we store, and what we sell. Each material gets a unique ID in the material master record, and within each material, we have different views containing data for different modules. This information is a multitasker. We use it for purchasing materials, keeping track of goods movements, invoicing, sales, and of course, in the heart of production planning and control. The next is the bill of materials, which can be like a recipe card for manufacturing. It serves as a detailed list outlining the components required and their respective quantities to produce a particular product. Put simply, it describes what is used to make what and in what quantity. This also has the flexibility to create multiple alternative BOMs, similar to having different recipe options for a single dish. Additionally, for products with variations, the concept of a super bomb is introduced. This is analogous to having all potential ingredients for different flavors with the specific components selected based on the customer's order. Moving on, we've got the work center. This is where the production magic happens, the machines or group of machines where operations take place. Work centers are like the stages in a play. They show up in task lists, helping with scheduling, capacity, and costs. Then, we have routing. Think of it as the step-by-step guide to putting on the show at the work center. It tells us how much time we need on the machines and the labor involved. Routings are our scheduling master data, and while the bill of materials tracks material costs, routings focus on capturing the operational costs of production. Last but not least, we've got the production version. This is where BOM and routing hold hands for production. In simple terms, production versions are different combinations of BOMs and routings. And remember, you can have different production versions for different ways of making the same product. So that wraps up our journey through the key players in SAP PP's master data. Don't worry if this feels too fast. I'll comprehensively explain each of these master data separately in later chapters. Next, let's take an overview of the production planning cycle. All right, let's break down the basics of production planning and control into two main steps: planning and execution. Let's delve into each of them. Let's start with planning. So when we talk about production planning, it's like figuring out what we need to make based on a plan of what we expect to sell. We're basically aligning our production with what's in our sales plan. This planning part begins with demand management, where we input the expected demand for our product in something called Planned Independent Requirements, PIR. This info then becomes the input for Material Requirement Planning, MRP, which checks if we have all the materials needed for production at different stages. It looks at things like the bill of material, BOM, and checks our current plant stocks. If there's a shortage of materials, we create purchase requisitions for stuff we need to buy and planned orders for things we make in-house. These kick off the procurement cycle and the execution cycle of production, respectively. Now, since MRP works with infinite capacities, we need to do something called capacity leveling to make sure everything runs smoothly and we don't run into any capacity issues during production. Got it so far? Great! Now let's get into the second part, execution. Here, those planned orders we chatted about earlier, these planned orders can be converted into production orders. We schedule them based on when we're planning to produce, and we use key info from our master data like routings. The production supervisor on the shop floor gives the green light to these production orders, and they also make sure we've got all the materials we need. A kind of material availability check. The actual production takes place according to the activities outlined in the routing. In the routing, master data, like the work center, is mentioned against each operation. Once the production is done, order confirmations happen, and we record goods movements for material consumption and receipt against the order. This action transforms the order into a delivered DLV status, and the material is officially received into the desired storage location. Towards at the end of the month, before we settle the order, it needs to be set to a technically completed status, or in other words, TECO status. This step is crucial for calculating production variances by the controlling personnel. Now, let's pivot to the topic of demand management in SAP PP. The main task here is to figure out how much and when we need certain items, whether for finished products or parts. Demand management collaborates with planned independent requirements, or as we call in technical term, PIR, and responds to customer demands. A quick note for you all to know. That is, the planning strategies are set up in the system in two methods. These two common methods that we need to understand are make to order and make to stock. So let's go through these methods briefly, as we will be talking about these two methods comprehensively in a later chapter. All right? So think of make to order like this. It's all about producing items in direct response to a specific customer order. Imagine a scenario where a customer places an order for a customized product. In a make-to-order approach, we start the production process only after receiving that specific order. It's like tailoring production to meet the unique requirements of each customer. This strategy is great for personalized or custom products where we want to ensure we're creating exactly what the customer is looking for. Now let's talk about make-to-stock. This method involves creating items in advance without a specific order in hand. So instead of waiting for a customer to place an order, we're proactively producing items to have them readily available in stock. Think of it like stocking up your shelves with products that you anticipate customers will want. This strategy is useful for goods with consistent demand or standard products that don't require customization for each order. It helps in maintaining inventory and meeting immediate customer needs without the wait time associated with make-to-order. So in a nutshell, make-to-order is about manufacturing based on specific customer requests, while make-to-stock is about preparing in advance and having items ready to go on the shelves for general customer demand. Each strategy has its own advantages and is chosen based on the nature of the products and the market demand. Also, in most cases, business use both these strategy types in planning. Make sense? Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section. Now let's dive into understanding a bit about Material Requirement Planning, or MRP, in SAP PP. MRP stands for Material Requirement Planning. MRP is essentially what determines shortages of stock and generates the necessary plans to fulfill that requirement in the system. It calculates net requirements and creates planned orders for production and purchase requisitions for raw material and other purchases. MRP also handles lead time scheduling, calculates production dates, and makes sure we have everything we need by exploring the bill of material. Now, moving on to capacity planning and leveling. Think of it as our way of making sure we don't overload our work centers. Capacity planning helps us analyze work center capacities, and if we foresee any issues, we shift orders around to avoid bottlenecks. Since MRP works without considering capacity constraints, we need capacity leveling to balance things out. This is done at each work center through a planning table, creating a more controlled production plan. Let's shift gears to production orders. After MRP does its magic, we get something called planned orders for in-house produced goods. This is the output of MRP in sense of production. Now these need to be transformed into production orders for the actual execution phase. They don't get messed with during MRP runs. That means planned orders to change based on the requirement. But production orders, once created, remains firm. They specify exactly what we need to produce and how much, and include details about the bill of material and routing operations performed at the work center. After the creation, production order is released for execution, and material availability checks can be carried out to determine if there are any missing components. Next, let's discuss production order confirmation. So picture this. We've got our goods physically made on the shop floor, and now it's time to confirm the production order. This step is like the final check to make sure everything's in line with our plan. Here's how it goes. First up, as we hit that confirmation button, the system does something neat. It automatically takes note of the components and materials used in the production process. We call this backflush, where it's like the system saying, "Yep, these materials are now officially part of the finished product." At the same time, the system can also mark these materials as officially received. We call this the goods receipt. It's kind of like a smooth handover, where the system recognizes that, hey, these materials are now in the product, and we've received them. But here's the cool part. We're not stuck with automatic moves. If we want a bit more control, we can manually handle the goods issue and receipt. This comes in handy in situations where we want to be more hands-on with the whole process. Now, let's talk about when things don't go as smoothly as planned. If for some reason there's an error in the material movement, maybe we're short on some components, no stress. We can step in and manually reprocess these failed movements, making sure everything is squared away. And it's not just about materials. During this confirmation dance, we're also keeping an eye on costs. All those machine and labor costs? Yep, they get updated in real time in the production order. It's like having a live feed of the resources used. Once everything's wrapped up, the production order gets a stamp of approval. We call it the confirmed or CNF status. It means the system acknowledges that everything went according to plan. Plus, it gets a delivered or DLV status, signifying that the goods are officially received and ready for whatever comes next. Oh, and here's the handy part. If by chance we messed up on the confirmation and post something wrong, no worries. Mistakes happen, as we have the option to cancel it and repost it with the correct data. This ensures our records stay accurate. Lastly, let's talk about production order close. After the production order is completely delivered, or if we don't want to execute the order further, the order should be technically completed. After the order gets a TECO status, it gets deleted from the stock requirement list and is no longer considered in the material requirement planning run. All dependent reservations also get deleted from the system. I hope this breakdown was helpful. If you found yourself swimming in a bit of mumbo-jumbo, no stress at all. I just walked you through the overview, and I'll be delving much deeper into each topic in the upcoming chapters. And hey, here's a little tip for self-improvement. Make sure to check out the resource packs I've included for each chapter. Take some time to read and learn at your own pace. You'll be surprised at how much it can boost your understanding. So, if anything seemed a bit foggy today, don't worry, we're just getting started. So, are you ready for the journey? Let's do this.